Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the BZCast. My name is Randy. I am your host for the show. I will bring in my special guest in a few minutes. Just want to tell you guys again, thanks for all the support so far in the podcast and our e-magazine issues. Make sure you check out our current issue, which is a Special House Rabbit Society edition. Of course, it's still paid what you want, but donations are always welcomed, and they always help out those rescues. Again, stay with us with our social media accounts, as we are official Bunnyzine on Instagram, we are official BZine on Twitter, and then just Bunnyzine on Facebook. A couple of things I wanted to talk to you guys about today, if you guys haven't seen yet, are on our social media pages. The BZCast is now in other podcast forms. Yeah, there's a lot of work trying to figure this out because I'm still kind of new to this. But we're on Soundcloud, which is, and iTunes. Soundcloud is just like an audio app that you can use for podcasts to download them and listen to anytime. I think it's good to have it on both versions because, if you have an Android phone, everything is such mobile technology. If you have an Android phone, you just download SoundCloud off Google Play and play it off there. And then for everyone who has iPad, iPhone, go to iTunes Podcast, search BZCast. The links for it should be on our YouTube description, like in a link below. So, I have a very, very awesome special guest today. The first time talking to him on the phone. He is the creator of Bunnyzine.com, Dustin Campbell. Dustin, how you doing?
Pretty good, Randy. How are you doing?
Good. It's been too long since I haven't done a show. I missed it.
That's been a while. Although I have to, I do want to actually say before we begin, I'm very thankful of the BZCast podcasts because I actually found them very, very enjoyable. I've listened to both the previous two so far, and I think both Ann Martin and Penny Collins did a fantastic job at their podcasts, and I'm hoping to live up to the bar that they set.
Yeah, and they both went really deep, talked a lot, and gave me a ton of detail. I think with Ann, I was scratching off question after question, and Penny was just giving me so much. Everyone check those out if you haven't. Episode 1 is with Ann Martin. She's the executive director of the National House Rabbit Society headquarters in Richmond, California. And then Penny Collins, episode 2, is the creator of Regarding Comic on Tumblr. We know you guys see those cartoons. They're awesome. So Dustin, going back to you. Tell us a little about yourself and how you came to be.
Well, in relation to bunnies, I actually wasn't a lifelong fan of bunnies. I know people have loved them for a lot longer than I have. For me, it was around 2005. There was a bunny at a pet shop, and I like to conclude the story with, yes, I do adopt now, and focus solely on rescues. But when you're being exposed to rabbits for the first time, the natural reaction is generally a pet shop. And there was an older bunny there who, basically couldn't compete with the babies.
Oh.
And I was in the middle of doing a show, a theater play, and I really wanted to get him, but I didn't want to bring him home and then, have him alone for the 6 nights that I was performing. I was going to be gone for 6 nights. Not leaving the house totally, but just, for a majority of the day. And so when I returned, I wanted to buy him. I asked if they would hold on to him for me, and that I would pick, I'd buy him after the show, but then they wanted to charge some exuberant cost of, keeping them there and feeding them, and it was, more than 7 times the price they were asking just to buy them, or just to buy him. So I waited a couple of days, and I went back kind of halfway through when 3 shows were done, 3 shows to go, and I noticed that they had dropped his price to absolutely free if you purchased a cage. And
wow.
This completely broke my heart. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to wait for the show to end. I ended up getting him by buying a cage, which basically I just used as a litter box. He was never once a bunny in a cage. And I just fell in love with him. He was so perfect. And from that point on, I knew I was obsessed with bunnies. They now control me. And, yeah.
Yeah,
and they get...
Go ahead.
So yeah, that was back in 2005. So about 10 years now, I guess I've been caring for bunnies and being a companion of bunnies.
Yeah, it was a good thing you mentioned the free range, because I think that's always like, if you can do it, you should definitely try to do it. Because I myself, with my Milo, noticed that he, you just notice so much more personality, character, and like, the banking is like double or triple the amount, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I find that rabbits that have a sufficient amount of space tend to be a lot happier. My rabbits have always been free range. The only times they're really bucked off is if they get like an entire room to themselves, or like to them and their bonded mate, or the only time that they're ever caged is we have a roll top cage that we have padded and used as basically a medical facility.
Okay.
Sometimes when they get sick, I had a bunny with EC, and she had head tilt that was causing her to flop and then putting herself in a trance, and then she would freak out when she woke up and she would scramble. And so we needed, for the first couple of days until we had medication kicking in and helping out, we needed a way to keep her safe, and the best way we could do that was to keep her in the medical cage that we have, where everything was padded and she wouldn't hurt herself. Real eye-opener, getting a bunny with EC for the first time. There's a lot of things that bunnies do, or can get, that will, make your heart stop.
Yeah.
Like the first bunny flop that you ever catch.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get a heart attack.
Yeah. A funny quick story. We found out, that's how we found out that our current vet with my Milo, who passed over the Rainbow Bridge last October, he was flopping, and we were like, oh my gosh, we had no idea. Like, my fiance had a bunny in the past, but she was really young, she might have not noticed it. She definitely didn't, because we were both like scared. And then we took him to the vet, and he had no idea. And he's actually like on a list of like rabbit vets for Illinois, and we're like, okay, we're definitely trying someone else. And then we saw like a YouTube video. I was just on YouTube one day, going through like looking at bunny videos, because I was like slowly getting passionate about them, and I was like, it says bunny flop, and then like, wait a minute, that's what Milo's doing. And then I like Google it, and I'm like, really, this is it? He paid like $50 for an appointment over nothing. Like, oh.
No, I've had a few of those occasions too, where the vet just kind of shakes his head and wonders, but I'd rather panic and be safe than and have a lesson learned, and to think of the consequences. So even now, like, I know what a bunny flop looks like, but sometimes it's just so deep.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's really cute. Okay, now you're starting to worry me. Okay, let me try to wake you up a bit. Hey, you're still not moving. Okay, now I'm freaking out, and then they wake up, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we've all been there for the at least for the very first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do have one different offbeat question. I think there's like a certain, I'm not, it might be like a culture difference as well. I know Canada, you're in Canada, and it's just north of us. I'm recording out of the south suburbs of Chicago in Illinois. There's like the certain stereotype about bunnies and gender, as like they're fitted for women. Have you run into, like, when you first like adopted, did you run into anything with that?
Sort of. There is the stereotype that men don't get attached to animals, and certainly not bunnies. If a man is going to, stereotypically, if a man's going to get attached to an animal, it's generally a dog.
Yeah.
And maybe perhaps stretching the boundaries, maybe a cat, but generally not a bunny. I that I know a lot less males that care for bunnies than females, but I don't know exactly what the percentage is. It seems that the women are leading, but I don't think it's by this vast amount that the men are such a minority. But I do come across that. I come across the same thing that other bunny lovers come across, which is people who just don't care about bunnies whatsoever, so they often, and we've all heard this, but they've often made food jokes, and
Yeah.
those are always fun. And then you also come across people who don't necessarily, they're not attached to bunnies, but they can at least appreciate your standpoint.
Okay.
I mean, everybody who knows me now absolutely knows me as the bunny go-to person. Like everyone I work with, I don't get teased for it or anything like that. They come to me for bunny advice, etc. And I even get calls when they come across a bunny situation that they're uncertain of what to do. And if I can help them, I will. If I can't, then I will make the extra effort of finding people who can. But overall, I don't know. I tend to, at least on Facebook anyway, see a lot of guys that are with bunnies, and now a lot of them are also with, in a relationship with someone who has a bunny.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them are single as well, so it's quite cool.
Yeah, it's just a different, like I said before, it's just like an off, sometimes stereotype. I work now with like in a field where it's like over 100 guys and there's like 5 women and they're all in the office. So like, there's not really a conversation starter about bunnies unless, you know what I mean? You kind of get that.
Yeah. I guess I got to take that into consideration as well, because the places I work at are pretty much either gender equal or more women than men, and so I don't really come across that. I mean, there's a lot of diversity at places I work, and but I can imagine in your situation, if it's primarily guys that work there, and if they don't share the same passion, it's a little difficult to bring up.
Yeah, it's that's how a lot of the warehouses are, and at least as far as Illinois, they're like male, like warehouses, factories, those kind of places. Mostly males heavily like dominate as far as working in them. So it's a little bit of a different environment. I don't really get I never really got ridiculed, but like you said earlier, a few minutes ago, you kind of do hear you would hear the occasional joke, about it. But that was a question I always wanted, because of first 2 guests were female, that I've always wanted to ask another male, because I don't think I personally, I might know 1 or 2 others that I've had conversations with through like Facebook, but not like one-on-one. As far as men, owning and rescuing bunnies.
Yeah, I mean, come to think of it, like in the town that I live in, I don't actually have any male friends who have bunnies, so yeah, I guess that would illustrate a bit about that.
But I think you're right though. I do see a lot that like the House Rabbit group page that me and you were both a part of. I do see a lot on there. A lot of they're hugging them, or sitting on the couch with them, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think one of the questions that everyone wants to hear, just the overall inspiration for Bunnyzine. You spoke of your bunny story from 2005 and how you adapted your first ones, but to come up with a website and an issue, what's the overall inspiration?
Actually, the beginning story was my first quest into how I became attracted to bunnies and how they became a big part of my life. Well, the biggest part of my life. The magazine itself, though, actually, oddly enough, stems from depression. For a good while there, I was doing fantastically well, working contract at various companies as a web developer. But my main job was to design a Spanish magazine that was published twice a month, and that had been that magazine. It's still going on now, but it's really slowing up. I don't think it's going to last too much longer. But it had been going on for solidly past 5 years.
Okay.
And as we started noticing changes, like all the warning signs that the job was going to end were there. The office closed, and I started working from home, and then even that started getting a little scarce. And I just saw the signs that the time was going to come, and it did. I was handed my last paycheck and basically told that for them to keep going on, they need to cut costs. And so now the guy who owns the business now designs the magazine himself, in addition to all the other work that he does.
Oh,
and like it's a crazy amount of work that he's going through. But if that's the hard times that print media is facing. So while I had my web development contracts, I missed the designing of the newspaper, because to me that was more of a form of expression than just coding out tasks. And I started to get quite depressed about it, and I even got to the point where I was comparing myself against friends who have become some very successful, and which was like a hard measurement to face. Someone you went to high school with is now a game developer for Warner Brothers. It's things like that. And and I felt like I was being really unproductive, and I really enjoyed designing the magazines for the Spanish company. I found it very relaxing, very creative, and so I thought, well, you know what? I mean, if he's able to, at least for 5 years, corner a market that has done him very successfully well in the past, then perhaps I could do the same with my passion, which is bunnies, and come out with a digital magazine, and see if I could turn this into my full-time job and make bunnies my passion for life.
Yeah, I mean, to connect myself a little bit with it, I think it was, man, it had to be like last December maybe. Was that the special edition with the bunnies? Was that February, January? It was somewhere in the winter time. I'm losing track. Was that where you had a bunch of featured bunnies?
Oh, the catalog of bunnies?
Yeah, I think you did that in the winter time, right?
Yeah, that was in February. That was kind of a special edition, so it wasn't released on the first. I think that was the February 21st. Okay. Where I had asked people for submissions to introducing their bunnies.
Yeah. I was naming that one because I believe that was the first one where I was messaging you back and forth, and I hadn't known you at the time, and I was kind of coming off a few months prior of my Milo passing, and I just asked you to include him, and you kind of gave me the rundown of previous issue that had bunnies that passed, but you still threw them in there, and that's something I'm personally always grateful for, because I like seeing different. We always look at old pictures and videos and stuff of the ones that we've lost. And that's always something I pop up every once in a while. It just makes me, smile.
I know that there's 2 Milos in that issue, one on page 24 and one on page 34. I think yours was the one on page 24, correct?
Yeah, he was a brown Flemish.
Yeah, he's super sweet. Yes, that is him. I actually just had the issue open and I was scrolling through. I saw Milo in there, and I do remember adding him in. Wow. It amazes me when I look back at the issues, and I think, we haven't even been running for a full year yet, and there's just so much material that we've already covered in the months that we've been publishing.
Yeah, you've had a lot of different topics, covered a lot of different issues. Um, Now, I think it was in May that, going into the next subject topic, in May that you were calling it. You were calling the end for Bunnyzine. And I remember that. I vividly remember that night. And I'm like,
May 17th.
yeah, I vividly remember that night because I was, you let me, I also do the Twitter account for just in case everyone knows. I was having a blast with it, talking to other rescues and other bunny accounts on there. If you guys, for the people listening, there's a big, of course Facebook is probably the biggest, but there's a big also rabbit community of pages of Twitter accounts that are also on Twitter. So you guys should check that out if you haven't. I was running it at the time, and then you sent out that message on our Bunnyzine message board thing, and I was like, oh, I have no, you have no power in the situation, of course, but you just felt super bummed. So the people listening, just kind of go over that situation, and then kind of what brought Bunnyzine back.
Well, the days leading up to May 17th. May 17th is my birthday, and I had just turned 40. And,
that's true.
I associated a lot with the week prior to that with instantly overnight turning into an old man, and my catchphrase from that point would be, "Get off my lawn." And, so, 17th came, I turned 40, and, that was fine. I handled that, and then, I think in the early afternoon, my computer just decided that it was done. It was winding down, and it was time for it to expire. And quite frankly, I wasn't terribly surprised with it because I had a previous laptop that malfunctioned on me, and so I turned to the old computer, knowing that it wasn't the greatest, but it was the only thing I had that I could keep going with the magazine, the only thing that would actually run the programs I needed, etc. And when that went, now I had a really, really bad laptop crash, or hard drive storage device crash, a year prior to Bunnyzine. So I've been very adamant about backing things up. I didn't actually lose any files whatsoever. I just lost the ability to actually create a magazine at that point. And I struggled with it for a few hours. I was like, okay, do I gather assistance, get somebody else to design June's issue? And more than half the month is already gone. I did reach out to Kiki Peterson, who designed the Fluffy Bums edition.
Okay.
That was the special edition number 3, I believe. And but the problem with that is her speeds to download these massive files were it was a lot to ask, and I was just overwhelmed. And it got to the point where I just said, you know what, I think it's just time to wrap it up. I was also my vision at the time, even from the time that I first started Bunnyzine, was a lot different than it is now. My vision was to build a really, really, really large audience, 5,000 readers, that sort of thing, where the audience would be big enough that advertisers would start coming in, places that I approached, things like Oxbow and whatnot, and that the money that they would spend to the advertising would partly go to funding Bunnyzine, keep it going. Actually, sorry, I got to retrain myself. When I initially created the magazine, I did initially intend to call it Bunnyzine, and it wasn't until you called it Bunnyzine that I went, I love that. I love that. So I officially declared right here, it's pronounced Bunnyzine. I love that pronunciation of it, so I'm keeping it.
It's a
and
Chicago
I'm crediting you
accent.
for it, but I think that's a really, really awesome pronunciation of it. So when my first vision of Bunnyzine was to to get this large audience, and that led. It was pretty much driving me to focus more on marketing and reaching out, and less on the actual magazine itself. Like I would still produce an issue, but then I would exhaust a lot of time, reaching out on Facebook and various other places, and just trying to get as many people to download this, share this with their friends, and build up a following so that I could get advertisers, so that we could fund Bunnyzine as well, or Bunnyzine, as well as give money to the rescues. The pay what you want portion of Bunnyzine wasn't actually intended from the start. It was more like, okay, until we build up that big of an audience, that advertisers can start paying the rescues, then we'll do with the pay what you want for now. It was always intended to be phased out.
Okay.
Because I really like the idea. Actually, we briefly started the campaign 5,000. Bunnyzine Campaign 5000, which was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be a group of people who would pay $2.50 a year. When you have 5,000 people doing that, that ensures that each rescue per month is going to get at least $1,000, because like the entire $2.50 would be split amongst the 12. The featured organizations for the 12 issues of the year, and that was going to accomplish two things. It was going to accomplish making sure that the rescues got at least $1,000, which to me is a lot more sizable than, I'm not saying what we're doing now is bad, here's a couple $100.
Yeah.
But I think handing them $1,000 would be a huge impact.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, medically, and, for what they have to do to keep that, to take care of their bunnies, that $1,000 would be immense.
Right, and that's kind of the level that I always wanted Bunny's to get at, and I kept on trying to get more readers, and when the laptop died and I switched over to the computer, I kept it going, and then when that died, I was at the point where I was like, okay, is it really worth it to continue on for the sake of a couple hundred readers? And a part of me said yes, it was. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to come up with the money, go get a laptop, and start this whole process. And can I feasibly do this? And the answer just came down to no, I can't. And it was the day after I announced later that evening, privately to the development team, that basically I was wrapping it up and it wasn't going to continue anymore. And then later on to the actual Bunnyzine community, and it broke my heart. I was very, very depressed that day, but I knew that the fight to keep it going was going to be even more exhausting to me than just getting up right there. And it wasn't until the following morning when Chris had initiated from the development team itself. It wasn't even presented to the public at this point. The idea of a fundraiser to get a laptop so that I can continue going on, and that rolled. The momentum rolled and went over to the public Bunnyzine Facebook page, and the community was incredibly supportive. And
yeah, they came through big time.
Oh, absolutely, and I was not only impressed that the problem was resolved so quickly, but that I was actually still able to get an issue out on the 1st. Like every regular issue has always been out on the 1st. I thought this was going to be delayed a couple of days, but they worked hard at getting me a laptop. I worked hard at getting the issue out on time, and everything worked out beautifully. And what it did for me, more than just providing the laptop, which I'm very, 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 very thankful to all the contributors who participated in that and who had donated some very large sums of money that I was kind of floored when I saw. I was like, really? Wow, that's very, very impressive. I mean, there was some really great donations going on there. But more so than that, I think the change in perspective of my wants from Bunnyzine, again, still training myself on that one.
It's okay.
is probably the most influential and the strongest impact that I've had since I launched it back in November of last year, and it created a dynamic shift, a paradigm shift of how I needed to approach this, and it switched from, instead of focusing on the people who are not reading Bunnyzine and trying to market, exhaust all my energy marketing it out and trying to reach people all over the place. My perspective has now shifted towards building a better experience for the readers that we do have.
Yeah.
And in doing that, if you improve the quality of that, I'm pretty sure that others will come. If these guys are enjoying it, then maybe others will join later on, and we will have a large community. And eventually, I still want to go with that goal of, I love the concept of taking corporate money and funding rescues with it, rather than taking money from individuals who love bunnies, who are constantly supporting, this surgery and that rescue and this operation, and there are a lot of us, and we continually give.
Yeah.
But it's taking money from not necessarily people who have a lot of money. Whereas if you can get a large audience, if I had, for example, 1 million readers, which I know is a huge exaggeration, but if I had 1 million readers, you're talking about attracting the attention of Fortune 500 companies, and if the money from these companies can go from the business world directly into the rescues, now we're talking about an operation where the readers, all they really need to do is be supportive of reading the magazine and let that corporate money funnel its way back to where the money is needed, right? And that's ultimately the goal I would like to have with Bunnyzine. But in the meantime, changing my focus, because if your goal is to get as many readers as possible and you're not reaching that goal, you're going to get depressed about it. You're not going to be happy about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when the generosity of the laptop came up, and I stopped and went, well, wait a second. I may only have a few hundred readers, but I have a few hundred readers that really care.
Yeah.
So why not make the experience better for them? And that's the direction that we're taking now. We're going to up not only the quality of the magazine itself, but by introducing new services for our readers to enjoy. And one of those that has come out since the laptop event was the BZCast, which I am very, very thankful that you spearheaded that project and that you're running it. And dude, I can't thank you enough about that and how happy and impressed I am about the job that you're doing with it. Oh,
thank you. I mean, I went to Columbia, which is a television / art / film theater. It has all those different kind of art form schools. It's a school downtown, and I focused on television for like 2 years. It didn't really work out too well, but it was kind of always like my kind of passion. I did like television, like pre and post production in high school. So I went for it in college. It didn't work out too well, but it's always kind of been like it's something that I wanted to do. And then we were talking in the group about the BZCast, about the idea of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could, I'm not the greatest person at talking publicly, but,
I think you're doing a fantastic job, personally.
Yeah. You know what? I have to thank a professor at Robert Morris for that. I'm drawing a huge blank on her name, but when I was going there for business school, they did this like particular project on talking to this GM of the company you want to work for in an elevator, and the things you would tell him to make an impression of him, but you had to like do it in front of a class of like 30 people. And we did like tutorials of it and tryouts of it throughout the year, and then you had like a big final where there was like there had to be no blips, and you had to follow this format. And that I would have to say that was like a huge like a big time, because I was like the first episode I was like stuttering like crazy and like losing my words, but I kind of put that format back into perspective, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm back to myself. But yeah, it's always like a weird thing talking, because on like in public or on like a microphone is a different kind of, sometimes different kind of pressure.
Yeah, no, I can certainly attest to that. Yeah.
So the one thing you started to get into the future of Bunnyzine, and we'll get into that in like a couple of minutes. But I wanted you to kind of give our readers, listeners, introduction of the team and what it was like to bring in a team to something that you kind of personally handled for so many months.
Yeah, the Bunnyzine development team. That was an interesting. Well, I don't want to use the word development again in the same sentence, but I guess I'm going to have to. It was an interesting development in the process of the magazine because I noticed during the first few issues that I brought out the first couple of issues, and people would contact me either through Facebook or through the email address officialbunnyzine@gmail.com, and they would ask if they wanted. If I wanted them to write articles or help out in various ways. And I thought there was a lot of support. I also had dreams of making this bigger, needed help in managing everything. While I base a lot of my life on computers for things like computer development, things like that, PHP scripting, I don't use a lot of the social tools. I have never used Instagram, still don't use Instagram personally. And part of the reason for that is because I believe that you should kind of pass those responsibilities on to someone who actually knows the market. For example, I'm a big fan of Reddit. I go to Reddit a lot. And
Reddit's fun.
If you don't know the Reddit audience, it's really tough to introduce something to them without being called out as, commercializing or, various other things. Like you really need to know the group that you're hanging around to know how they're going to respond to the things that you contribute. I don't know what the Instagram audience is like. I know that Koji and Shiro have the Instagram audience down to a science. They have, they also take incredibly beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
And so they developed a huge audience from that. Twitter, I understand how Twitter operates. I can use Twitter. I just don't really get the Twitter mentality. I don't know what is considered a good tweet versus a bad tweet, a successful tweet versus an unsuccessful tweet. Don't really know the ins and outs of that. I don't know how much of it is communicating and how much of it is just announcing things. Like it's still an audience that I'm trying to get a handle on. And I've noticed just from the 7 or 8 tweets that I started with that didn't really go anywhere to when the Bunnyzine development team formed and Twitter was handed over to you, there was a sudden explosion in the number of followers we got and how interactive we've been with other Twitterers. Is that the appropriate term?
Yeah, I just refer to them as Twitter accounts, Twitter handles.
The Twitter handles? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
okay.
I don't know an exact science on there either, but
what you're doing is actually very successful, and I'm seeing a lot of responses following up on it, and there's a lot of engagement, a lot of activity, and that's a market you definitely don't want to miss out on because it connects with various other people. I think Running Bun Magazine, that's how they got introduced into having an article in Bunnyzine.
Yeah.
Was being introduced through Twitter and features like that. We've also got a G+ page which I've got to focus more on upkeeping. June wasn't a particularly great month for me for progress because there's a lot of things I wanted to work on, but I had started a new job and the hours for training were immense. The training alone was already a full-time job, so between that and my other actual jobs, I really had very limited time in June, but I plan on rectifying that in July and from here on in because everything's settled back down to a more controllable level for my hours.
Oh, I didn't see any issues at all with July. I thought July, again, everyone visit bunnyzine.com navigate down to current on the toolbar to current issue for House Rabbit Society Special Edition issue. I didn't see any major issues or anything. I thought it was pretty smooth.
Yeah, the issue itself I was very contented with, very happy with. It was the other things that I wanted to do. There was progress I wanted to make on the website as well as the G+ page, and to work more because the development team is really forming now in terms of what everybody is doing. And we've got quite a few people on board, Chris Reynolds and Deanna Ali Williams, who contribute a lot to the ideas, Amanda Davey as well, Sue O'Reilly. We've got this fantastic team. I think in total we have about 25, 26 members.
Yeah.
And the great part about it is everybody seems to contribute in very various ways, depending on their skill set.
Yeah.
You're bringing a lot to the social community as well as the BZCast. Some people are fantastic at generating ideas, and some people are even fantastic at, if an idea is being generated, they might respond with something that, maybe we didn't think of before, should probably look at it from a different perspective. They've been pretty good about that.
Yeah, we got a pretty international team as well. We got people from everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's fantastic. All over the world, really. We have, graphically inclined, and I'm very, very thankful about this, Ketsy. I know you're listening to this. I'm very, very thankful that you have graphic abilities, because I'm a little weak on the aesthetic design. I clash colors very easily. I also can't necessarily draw. And a big thank you to Penny Collins the word illustration came up. She's not necessarily part of the Bunnyzine development team, but every month she has let us publish one of her regarding the Secret Life of Rabbits cartoons, and I enjoy them immensely. And hope she's still going to continue doing that, even if I've called her out on the radio. Or on the internet cast, I don't know why I said radio there.
Yeah, yeah, it was funny that you mentioned that with Penny, because I actually before I had the idea of doing the show with Penny, I was like, you know what, I'm not entirely sure if she's on the Bunnyzine development team. And I actually had to go through our member thing, and I was like, okay, I was pretty sure she wasn't, but I was like, a part of me was like, you know what, she might be.
Well, I mean, she's definitely more than welcome and invited, and now publicly pressured to join.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, our team is incredibly talented in so many various ways that it really helps. Now, the thing is that when you're developing a team, it's still it's not like having especially when we have everybody around the world, it's not like a business where procedures are set and everybody has their cut and dry duties of what they're expected. It's nothing like that. This literally is a collaborative team of creative people that are generating this together with no actual specific role agenda. Everything from coming up with ideas on what we're going to put into the next issue to what other services we should introduce. These are all things that are discussed amongst the group, and we find out, some of the good, the bad points of the ideas and how we're going to handle them, and which ones are feasible now, which ones are feasible later. And then we all take bits and pieces of it and carry forth through there. I'm truly blessed, and everybody here is a volunteer, so I'm doubly impressed, right?
Yeah.
That the team is forming together, and but it does take time to settle into where everybody's skill sets lie, what they're good at, and how to best utilize that. Also bearing in mind that everybody has lives as well. You don't want to take up too much of someone's time, things like that. So far, I think we're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I do have to give a personal shout out to Ketsy Rivera. She's been editing these for me, because my editing skills, while I did it in college with special editing programs built into the computers at the college, I don't have one
she's
at
going
home.
to be the one that makes me sound good. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ketsy.
Yeah, no, she's been doing a great job of also, which was I didn't think the audio files were I'm throwing it out there and admitting at first that I think I actually emailed this to her as well, where we were talking back and forth on emails, that the audio files weren't, we didn't need them, she did them anyway just to go out of her way to do them, and then I found out when I almost gave up on the whole podcast idea with iTunes because it was so frustrating. And then Helen, I believe it was, on our group. I think it was Helen. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Recommended SoundCloud, and I was like, okay. So I kind of did some research into that, and the audio file is like perfectly synced with SoundCloud, and I was like, oh, all right, that worked really well. So thank you again, Ketsy, for proving me wrong and downloading those, because they're really crucial. And then SoundCloud actually, remember we couldn't find that damn RSS feed thing? We were struggling with that. I know some listeners who are probably laughing at me for saying that, but we couldn't find that thing. And SoundCloud just, you click a couple of tabs and it gives it to you. And I'm like, really? So, and then you do that, and iTunes just recognizes it, and you kind of load your picture, describe. I do want to say that iTunes is, for some reason, doesn't really have like a animal, category, which I found really odd, but I guess there isn't too many animal podcasts out there. Like I said, that was really odd. So I kind of chose kids and family because I think our issues are, very family friendly. And, the BZCast are pretty family friendly. So I kind of went that route. So iTunes Podcast, put some animal stuff in there. So the next thing I wanted to go into before we had 2 fan questions. Was the future of Bunnyzine. What did you want to add? Because you said you saw like a different kind of future when we kind of, did the laptop campaign. So what are some of the things that the readers and listeners should be looking forward to?
One of the intentions of Bunnyzine was to always be a community magazine. I wasn't looking to, really its intention was to celebrate our bunny community, and that's why I, choose a variety of bunnies to be the featured rabbit for each issue. Some were very, very popular already, and some, were just new to the Facebook realm, and but they were all part of I find more and more they tend to be chosen from the community that we've started to build, and I hope that, I want to keep that trend going. I want to be I want to continue to be community focused and be able to share stories that have had gone on in the community, such as the Maslow street bunny story, which I still gets me. For those who might have missed that issue, Maslow was a street bunny that was rescued after someone had spotted Maslow by his wife's side. She was posthumously named Hope, and she was hit by a car, and somebody had photographed Maslow on the street beside her, and a big rescue operation took place, and
you had some pretty exclusive details on that rescue.
Yeah, absolutely. I was able to get in touch with the people involved in the rescue, Aaron and Kimberly. I don't want to miss anybody out. So and I'm afraid I'm going to if I start naming names. But I'll look for that. And very few people actually know this, but I actually developed a little secret group because there was so much information about that adventure and so much communication going on between the person who photographed it to the people who rescued it. There was a lot of activity happening, and it was difficult to keep straight. So I created a little secret group that all the people involved with the rescue were a part of, so that we could, get the story in chronological order and get all the details, and that's how we ended up with having such an extensive article on Maslow. We'll actually be doing an update on Maslow. He's absolutely fantastic. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I think I saw a video.
No point in saying spoiler alert after you just said the fact, yeah, but he's doing fantastically well, and I look forward to updating everybody on exactly how well he's doing in an upcoming issue. But so bringing it back, I really want this to continue to be community oriented, and by doing so, I'd like to implement a few new things, some which were already in plans to be done, and it was just, again, the June new job absorbing my hours that prevented me from getting that accomplished. One of the things I'd like to do is actually a restructuring of the website. Right now, the website currently serves as a way to get the issue, and quite frankly, I don't think an entire website needs to be dedicated just to that purpose. So I'd like to actually change the website around so that readers can become writers, and if they have a bunny story they'd like to share, or they find something online that they'd like to write about, they'll be able to have author accounts on the Bunnyzine website and publish articles and really kind of just build up so that the audience, the community has a lot more than just a once a month issue coming out. They'll be able to check on a more regular basis to see what's happening, things like that. So this is in addition to we're still going to keep the issues going, but this will be another service that we're offering, and we're definitely going to be inviting anyone who wants to write. There are going to be some restrictions to it. Obviously, we don't support breeders, so
of course,
articles on that is not really fitting for our particular audience. Obviously anything to do with bunnies as anything but a companion is not going to be accepted. But and it's going to be pretty much audience moderated in terms of somebody writes an article that readers don't like, and then they're going to have an opportunity to voice their opinion, and we can take things from there. But I do want to keep a nice clean community and gentle community. I don't want anybody getting after the things that they write, but I do want people to have a fair say in whether or not something is a bit too much, sort of thing. I've always been very, very cautious about things like giving advice on rabbit care, especially medically. I've started opening up the doors to that lately, as long as it comes with a disclaimer that always 100% check with your vet, please. This is advice, and it could be advice coming from another vet, right? Like, I'm not saying that people who have the advice are necessarily uneducated in bunnies. I just don't like the idea of that one potential piece of advice that was taken and resulted horribly, and so as long as people bear in mind to always refer to their vet to be sure, then I would feel better about people giving rabbit advice. I've seen some wonderful ideas in the rabbit community on various toys you can make for your rabbits, some various very cool room setups that allow for adventure playlands for bunnies, and I want to see more of this come to light. And I think by having more eyes out there, coming across these articles, and more people out there writing for Bunnyzine's website, they can build up their own audience, their own regular readers who look for their articles, things like that. That's one of the things. There are a few other things in the works, but right now they're in conceptual phase, so I can't guarantee that they're actually going to happen. We have to kind of weigh out the pros and cons, things like that. There's been a few ideas. I would definitely love to start a rabbit wiki. I find that the House Rabbit Society does an amazing job at storing articles about rabbit care and rabbit health, things like that. Doing something like that in a little more of a Wikipedia style would probably help in accessing information a lot easier, a lot quicker, a lot faster. I would like to see something like that being built up. So I might attempt to launch a MediaWiki installation. This is, of course, going to happen when Bunnyzine actually gets settled into its own web space. Right now, the web space is currently being donated by a dear friend of mine, Mark Clark, and I'd like to see that, basically being moved from the space that we're borrowing from him to our own home, and then we can expand a lot more in doing that. I also want to do more for having a directory of shelters and rescues across the world, and making them more rather than a typical directory. This is more a geo-based directory, and it should help when people are looking to adopt, finding places in their area. And we're going to do what we can to. I'm looking at building a module that helps me. I noticed that a lot of rescues are using Pet Finder as their way of showing which rabbits are adoptable, and I think I can develop a way to amalgamate from various rescues their Pet Finder locations and be able to present that. So hopefully that tied in with the geo directory will assist in somebody in whichever area of the world they're in from finding the bunny that they can care for. So a lot of good things coming up, a lot of them community oriented. I mean, I'd love it if we had our own internet TV show as well, but got to see if we could find some people who are into video work for that.
When I was looking at the YouTube when I was first setting up the BZCast stuff, you have to have like a certain amount of subscribers and for like live streams, and because I think it was Ann in the first episode that asked me that right away. You know what? I think it was Penny. Ann asked about like Skype, and then Skype didn't really work out too well, and then Penny was asking if I was live. I was like, I wish. that would be pretty cool, but you have to have a certain amount of subscribers to kind of set that up on YouTube. Like sometimes you could see like certain live events through YouTube. Some of the was it E3, the big gaming convention? You saw like live stuff through the YouTube. The Olympics, when the Olympics was going on, like NBC was showing some the presentation, the beginning presentation of that. So
Felix Baumgartner jumped from space. I think that was all live streamed.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta have like I don't even think it said a number. It just said you have to have like a certain amount of subscribers, and we weren't even close to qualifying because we're brand new, of course. But
yeah, I think Ustream might also be an option that we could take a look at and see. They run slightly on a different level where if you have a smaller number of people, then it's free, and then if your audience grows, then it costs money, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And if our audience is that big, then that's okay. We switch over to YouTube and live stream from there. I think it would be great to have that kind of a setup. But I've seen a few shows online that do their call-in shows, and though they don't live stream, they do, tape a video show and then with live callers, and then they upload the video from there. Another possibility. Yeah. There's tons to explore, and we're always willing to hear ideas from the community. That's one thing I would really like to know. There's a question I have for everyone who's listening and everyone who's reading, which is, what do you like about Bunnyzine? What would you like to see that we're not already doing? And what would make this a much more satisfactory experience?
Cool. No, it's a good question to ask already. It's like they have they seem like they've gotten a little more interactive, and you guys, for the people listening, you guys have always been really, really great and helpful. But yeah, I think that's a great point that Dustin brings up is let us know, what you if there's an idea that you guys have or something that you just want to see. I think it's always great help when our fans just tell us something flat out that, hey, maybe this is something that we want to see, blah blah blah, something along those lines. Yeah, we definitely welcome that.
I have to admit, one of the things I love about our community is the response we get. And I want to get back to this because the last couple of issues, well, I mean, the one that was recently put out was solely 100% about House Rabbit Society. But even the one prior to that, there wasn't as much community interaction as there was in previous issues, and I'd like to get back to that because I've been flipping through some of the old issues, and I loved, being able to say, like the very first issue, we had a say hi section where readers could introduce their bunnies to other readers. I want to bring that back. I want to, themes. We had a bunny bedtime theme, and so all these pictures of sleeping bunnies that were absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
We got those together, and just recently, I had asked our readers. I've been getting back into Photoshop lately. I have a Facebook page I haven't been updating in a while called Picture a Bunny, and that's where people would submit a picture of their bunny, and I would Photoshop into some scene. And I really enjoyed doing that, and I missed doing that, so I thought, okay, well, for this issue, I want to do something of that style where I'm Photoshopping a few pictures, and I was only thinking of maybe about 5 or 6 pictures, and I had asked for photos of bunnies to be able to Photoshop, and the response was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like over 50 pictures to choose from, and I'm like, wow.
This is gonna be a big issue, huh?
Right, and that's the sort of thing I really want to get back to is being able to take user submissions, putting them in, because really it's about the community.
Yeah.
And so, logically it follows that we should be asking for more submissions from them, carrying out these themes. I'm loving, as much as anybody else, I love seeing my bunny in a magazine, but I also love seeing everybody else's bunny in a magazine too, and some of these adorable pictures that are coming out, and then I turn to my bunny and say, well, why don't you guys do that? We don't lay in the bed like that. Look, he's so sleepy, cute. Come on, guys. And they just look at me going, well, I'm cute. And I'm like, yeah, you are. And yeah. I lose every argument with my bunnies.
Yeah, don't we all? Penny actually mentioned the same thing, that when she was doing cartoons on particular stories, and she was having a huge blast, like reading descriptions and looking at pictures of bunnies. So yeah, I a long time ago when I first joined Twitter, and I had my bunny Milo, he was like rabbit. I went crazy on the Twitter with pictures and stuff, and House Rabbit even followed me because I was tweeting at him so much stuff, and they opened it up and they advertised Rabbit of the Day and Rabbit Video of the Day, and he got both in the same week. So that always made me smile. And if any of you guys are interested in Googling it, Rabbit of the Day stuff on House Rabbit, they usually post one. I don't think every day, but every so often. I always thought that was cool to be included.
Absolutely. I have to thank the Reddit community actually for their response when I won't admit this to the other bunnies, but my favorite bunny, Ufa, she was a sweetheart. She was such a sweetheart. And she taught herself a very, very cute little trick. She actually taught herself to nod when she was offered a treat that she liked. And I got to find video of her, the treats that she doesn't like, just to illustrate that she recognizes the treat, and if she doesn't like it, she doesn't react. But if it's a treat that she likes, she'll nod her head yes as you're offering it to her. And I don't know where she picked this up from, because it wasn't a trick that was taught. We don't peach tricks. So I don't know where she picked this up from, but she did, and I managed to get quite a few of her nods on video, and one of them I had posted in November of 2013, and then a few people saw it and they thought it was cute and whatnot. And then in December, she had passed away, and I'd never been more heartbroken. It was devastating to me, and so I ended up going online and sharing the video with some people on Reddit, and just expressing that I'm in mourning over losing her, and within 24 hours it shot up to 80,000 views, 90,000 views. Next thing I know, it went viral and it was on being featured on the front page of people.com, Huffington Post, and all this, and it was just overwhelming.
Oh my gosh.
The fact that I think it settled down at about 150,000 views.
Ooh.
And I mean, it's not the millions. It didn't go Gangnam Style or anything like that, but
yeah,
just the fact that there were that many people who took the time to watch it, and a lot of them smiled and commented and said it made their day, and it was really cute to see, and all this. I just I took a lot of comfort in knowing that Ufa made other people happy, even if just for a moment she made other people happy, even though she was gone. And so I can definitely relate to when you're included. It feels really, really good, especially if it's a bunny that has gone to the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
And when you're reflecting back on it, you can't help but just soak up all those good memories.
That's true. I for the people that do share it on the House Rabbit group pages, which there's there's close to 7,000 members in there. There's a ton of people. That page is super active. That's always fun. I always love because they always pop up on my newsfeed posts from a couple of days ago pop up on my feed, and whether it's the unfortunate passing of one, or it's a one sleeping or something like that. And now people have also gotten really creative with memes, which I find hilarious. Bunny memes. They'll keep those going because those are really funny to pop up on my newsfeed. It's funny you mentioned that the head nod thing that your bun did, because my Milo, I think I told you about this in the past, a long time ago, had this thing where he ran around with a pillow over his back. He would bite it.
Yes. Yeah. I do remember this.
If you stood up a pillow, and I was in shock. It was first of all, I was looking at him, was looking at a kid in a toy store aisle, and he sees that one toy, and his eyes light up. That was Milo. His ears shot straight up, and his eyes wide, and I'm like, what is he thinking? And then he grabs it and puts it over his back, and then runs in his cage with it. He's free range, but he runs in his cage with it, lays it in his litter box, and then lays in it in his litter box. I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. I was standing there in shock, and I caught it on video one time and put it on YouTube, and I've got I never really put it on there for the views, but I got a couple thousand, and I always thought that was amazing. I was like, wow, Milo's a internet star,
Yeah, I highly recommend that when you upload this to I assume there's going to be a copy of it on YouTube. I don't know if you can do links on SoundCloud or not, but I definitely recommend linking that video up. I remember seeing that video, and it's adorable. It's charming. So for anyone who's listening that wants to see it, then you should provide the link for that. That's really good.
Yeah, it's I think it's just simply, if I remember correctly, Milo Loves Pillows, but yeah, I'll post a link on there. It's never really for the views. I would never advertise it for the views. It's more so in his memory and the goofy stuff that he did that always just made me laugh. And I think that's also, before we get into the last part, which is the questions from our fans. We have 2 questions for Dustin. I think it's always fun to create memories. I don't think you guys should hold back if you are thinking, is it too crazy to take pictures or videos? I say, my personal opinion, just go for it. You never know how much time you have with them. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh my goodness, those. And the thing is, I'll tell you up front, you'll never have enough. I don't care if you have 10,000 hours of your bunny on video and 14 million pictures. It'll never be enough because I mean,
exactly.
When they're gone, it's incredibly heartbreaking, and those pictures and videos can be awesome comforts, absolutely awesome comforts.
I completely agree. So, we are actually, this is the longest one so far. We are like the 1 hour and 10 mark, going on 1 hour and 11 minutes. So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
There's no certain time limit at all for any of the BZCast shows. Just want to let everyone know that. Well, however it goes, it goes. Anne actually did really well. She had told me because Anne is such a bunny saint that she had to actually go pick up a bunny from like a different rescue or something along those lines. So that's just how more the amazingness of Anne is that she did a 20-minute plus podcast with me for the first ever episode, and then went to go pick up a bunny and still provided like an awesome show. So
that's a lot of dedication. Yeah. To fit in a rescue right after an interview. That's I assume it's the other way around. The rescue was already planned, and then the interview was just kind of put in between. And but that's awesome that she did that.
Yeah, always welcomed again later on in the future. I want to give you guys more variety of guests, but definitely later on in the future we should check up with her. So the last remaining part that with our guest creator of Bunnyzine, Dustin, want to get into the fan questions. I posted these this morning. I got 2 for you, Dustin, and this first one we kind of hit on. Ray Otto, what is the next? I'll try to read these word for word. What is the next step for the future of Bunnyzine, and how do you intend for it to look and feel?
Just to briefly recap. I want to get more involved. I want it to be more of a community paper, so I want to get more involved in providing themes and requests and submissions that are driven by you guys, really, because that was pretty much the whole purpose. Was if I were to describe Bunnyzine in just a few simple words, it's meant to be a celebration of bunnies, and who better to celebrate it than the people who appreciate them, who are their companion, and who, if they're like me, basically worship them. I mean, we're under their control, under their power, and I want to keep more of that going. I've done for the issues themselves. I've done as much as I can in terms of avoiding politics and avoiding a lot of the bad things that are happening in the world with bunnies, a lot of petitions that are signing around. I'll definitely share them on the Facebook page. I try to keep them out of the magazine as much as possible, just because I don't want it to start blending into that. This is going to be a social and political magazine. I think if, and it's not because I don't support the cause, I absolutely do, but I think if I was going to head in that direction, I would just start a whole new magazine for that, and have a news rendition or an activist rendition. For this, I like it being light. I like it being fun. I like just awing at the adorable pictures. I'd like to see more pictorials. Not that there's too many articles per se, but when I look back, like once you read an article, okay, you got the information, that's fine. But for rereadability, I guess, when I flip back, the thing I'm attracted to most is the pictures that are often themed in various ways. And so I want to get back to that. And again, the additional services that we mentioned before, some, like the website is definitely going to go through the transformation. That's what I'm currently working on. As far as some of the other ideas, a lot of that is going to depend on the results of us discussing this with both the Bunnyzine development team, and as well as the Bunnyzine readers, and implementing suggestions, things like that. And I would like to see a community being built. Our own equivalent of something like bunspace.com. I think we have a great community, a great connection, but there's not too much in the way of getting readers more involved in connecting with each other and sharing more. So I'd like to open up the website so that everybody can have a profile and write articles if they wish to do that, or have photo galleries, things like that. It's just basically another extension to what's already happening in Facebook, but in our own community, essentially.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on like the certain vibe. Penny spoke about it in her thing, because that sometimes you just see a lot of like negative, tragic stuff that involve bunnies. It's a sad like truth, but there's a lot that happens. I spoke with this as double going back to Anne on the kind of respect that seems like that they don't have as much yet as other animals, going back to like humane rights. But yeah, and then doubling back again to the Bunnyzine e-magazine, I think that creates like a very awesome positive vibe amongst the community when sometimes you see so much negative posts just because it just doesn't seem like bunnies are fully there yet in the world, as far as like people know them, they recognize them, then when you talk about them they understand, but they're just not talked publicly amongst like main media outlets, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the main points I have with a lot of the protests and petitions going on. By all means, I support them. I'll sign the petition saying Whole Foods, obviously shouldn't be selling rabbits as food, and the myxo vaccine in Australia, I think that should be available to the people who have rabbits. So I definitely agree with these issues, but I think what there isn't enough of is exposure of the rabbit community to the world. I don't think they necessarily see just how passionate we are about bunnies, except when these political things come up. They see us getting angry over it. They don't actually see the love that we have, like we do with the cat community. I mean, we all see, very, very cute pictures of cats and 1,000 people going, "Oh, that's very sweet." We need people who aren't in the bunny community to be aware that we have that same affection towards bunnies, and when they start to realize, wow, this is an actual, sizable group that really care for these animals, then perhaps that will help. I know it sounds a bit odd to say, by loving bunnies we can get them protected, but I think definitely not substituting the petitions, but in addition to the shouting that we do in order to protest against things that are going wrong, illustrating how enjoyable rabbits are is equally as important in illustrating to the rest of the world that we do care that much, that they are that important to us.
Exactly.
And hopefully this will help in getting them the rights that they need and be protected the same way that dogs and cats are. I would love to see that day.
Yeah, that I think with as negative as the Whole Foods thing is, and that we can all agree with that that NBC in California, even though it was in California, did that story. That went worldwide. That story went worldwide amongst Twitter and Facebook. So the fact that story was shared, and yeah, I think that garners some attention from people that aren't on rabbit pages, don't own rabbits, don't have them as I don't even want to say pets or companions. It kind of stinks that it kind of comes to that point where it takes like a story on that subject, but like I said, on the positive note that you could look at on that positive side of it is that, hey, people are at least recognizing it and saying, hey, this situation isn't right. What's going on with this? And at least it makes them think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think by, participating in the petitions, but as well as people understanding your love for bunnies, one of my greatest triumphs, which isn't a huge deal in terms of impacting the world, but to me it was an accomplishment, was a coworker who honestly doesn't care about bunnies whatsoever, has no feelings this way or that about them, and he actually said to me a few months ago, he said, I will never, ever, ever eat a rabbit, only because I know how much you love them.
Oh.
And, I mean, if that's all it takes, is it starts with one person who may not necessarily share the same passion, but has enough care for me. We are good friends, more so now than because he was relatively new at my workplace back then, but he basically said he'd never seen anybody who had such devotion to bunnies before, and he would never even consider eating a rabbit because of how much they mean to me. And I think that's if we get more people who aren't necessarily bunny lovers to feel that way, or to understand that we do feel that way, then I think it can make a huge impact. And again, it's not a world-changing moment of success, but for me it was pretty triumphant.
Yeah, I agree. It's a significant because that story can spread. He can tell other people, and then if a lot of people in the bunny community just kind of tell their friends about their passion for them, and then they're no different than a dog or a cat as far as being personal companions. Then I think people that kind of spreading of the companionship that they provide, that it just doesn't seem like a lot of people know. Well, I don't want to say not a lot, but just a good amount of people don't know about. I think is very, very powerful in its own way.
Absolutely. And I mean, rabbits are, they have a slight disadvantage. They're really, really, really not for everyone.
True.
Dogs are incredibly loyal, and they want to be. They want your attention all the time. And I love dogs as well. I don't have one at the moment, but I had a childhood dog that we had for 17 years, and he was my best friend growing up. I mean, he was just super, super awesome. And I have a sister who is absolutely in love with cats. And cats have kind of a blasé attitude towards people. Bunnies are a bit more demanding, and in terms of upkeep, and in terms of making them happy. And I think for me, at least from my perspective, I can't speak on behalf of everybody else, but I never had to work hard at making a dog happy. I never had to work hard at making a cat happy. A cat is generally just content as long as you just let it be a cat, and you play with it, sure. But to earn the love and respect from a bunny is a lot of hard work, and that's again varying on bunny to bunny. I have a bunny, Bouja, who was like an immediate snuggler, and then Lilo, who is she's a little more bossy, but she snuggles as well, and you get to know their temperaments, you get to know their likes and dislikes, and you find yourself. Like I've got treat separations because one likes this treat but this one doesn't, and you find yourself really kind of bending to their preferences, and I've never done that with any other animal before, and I'll keep on doing it because there's if there are others that share the same sentiment as I do, a lot of the satisfaction, the reward of having a bunny companion is seeing their contentness, seeing them binky after something exciting, or seeing them just even seeing them stretched out, relaxed, knowing that they're under no fear, they don't have any predators to worry about, they don't have, they're just in utter relaxation, and you can't help but feel happy that this bunny is that contented, and that's where we get rewarded.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing they do. It does take like a special, different kind of care, of course. But if as long as people do the research as to the kind of care that they need, I think they can be for a lot more people than we think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
no, go if you.
I think in terms of, you do have to be a person who is, it's that connection that you got to grab, because I don't think I'm nearly as attentive to detail to the rest of my life as I am with bunnies. So I can't even say people who are, not attentive to detail couldn't have bunnies as a companion, because I'm a prime example of how, just by making bunnies, by them being a priority to me, they always get the extra special attention, and they always get all the considerations, and you're right, like, the biggest key will be research. You might be a bunny lover, and not know it, and just be a few research steps away.
Yeah, I always, for our listeners, refer to people to Rabbit.org, House Rabbit Society's website. They've got, as our new issue shows, on Bunnyzine.com, it almost answers every single question, or I will never say 100%, but I would say pretty near 100% can answer all of your questions that you would probably have on what it takes to raise a bunny, for their diet, medically, and so, etc.
Absolutely, and get involved with the bunny communities, especially House Rabbit Society has a Facebook page. People are willing to help. They'll help answer questions. They'll help guide you to, if you can't find what you're looking for, because if you just get a bunny and you know nothing about them, it's hard to know what to look for, let alone anything else. And if you're considering getting a bunny, the first thing I'd recommend is actually just getting associated with the bunny communities. They're open to questions. They're open to, they want, and we want, anyone who is considering getting a bunny that doesn't know a lot about them, we want you to have a great education. So we're definitely getting to go out of our way, so that you're fully prepared of what you're going to be encountering. I know it sounds like it sounds like a huge homework assignment, but it really, really isn't. It's a lot of very, very simple things, but crucial things that can make the difference between you being having a very beautiful relationship with your bunny, or you getting frustrated because, let's say, you don't understand its temperament, or why it just nipped you, that sort of thing. I mean, we look at bunny nips as forms of communication.
Yeah.
Right? Not something to get mad at the bunny about, but, you might have been in the bunny's way. You might have, there's various reasons for nipping, right? Nipping can even be a sign of a problem if it's in addition to other symptoms that, if the bunny's not feeling well. There are various things, but again, I don't want to get into the medical side of things, because I put the same disclaimer on myself as I do with anyone else, which is always talk to a vet first, or not even necessarily first, but if you're reading about something medical, just run it by them and make sure that the vet is compliant with it, because advice is advice, and it should be treated as advice. It could be useful, but it's always best to have a professional opinion behind it. So.
I 100% agree. So before I close you out, and what is going into an hour and a half show, really awesome show, really, really awesome show. There was one more fan question with Robert Waters. Said, will there be any after show desserts offered?
Any after show desserts?
Yeah, we've been getting fun questions too. So
I could probably put out a lovely spread of carrots and lettuce leaves, and I mean, I'm quite. If you like carrot tops, also got quite a few of those. So kale, can also offer kale. Not sure how we're going to distribute it quite yet, but maybe we can have a virtual bunny party. That would be kind of neat to have a bunny treat day where we gather people around, like at a specific time, on a specific day, and we all give our rabbits a treat together, sort of thing. I don't know. That was just an off-the-wall idea. I have no idea if that sounded interesting or what's he talking about?
No, it's okay. The question itself could be answered in multiple ways. I think you provided a good one. So Dustin, I do want to.
I can definitely answer Robert's question that the bunnies here are definitely going to get dessert. Yeah.
Okay, I think he was going more that route, but I think you picked a good direction as well. So Dustin, closing it out, thank you for being such an awesome guest, and a long show that had a lot of really good information. Got to know a little bit more about you and stuff I didn't know, and provided our readers some background on Bunnyzine. I almost said it wrong myself, and then giving the readers some insight into the future. So I will talk to you probably sometime later in the week about probably when this is posted. I will speak to Kedzie and see what her schedule is as far as editing. But Dustin, thank you again, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Randy. I look forward to it.
All right, you have a good night, Dustin.
You too.
Bye. Again, I would like to thank the creator of Dustin Campbell, creator of Bunnyzine.com, for joining us and having a really, really awesome show. I think you guys will really enjoy it once this is all uploaded. Again, this should be uploaded to SoundCloud on SoundCloud.com. You search Bunnyzine BZCast. On iTunes podcast, search the same thing, Bunnyzine BZCast, and then, of course, our YouTube channel. There is one thing that I wanted to speak about. I used it in the last show. I wasn't sure about the first show. I have to listen to that again, about the PBSA, the Public Bunny Service Announcement, which is just like just my own opinion on a certain matter, and that is community. And that Dustin used that word a lot in our conversation, and I think that's 100% correct on the bunny community. And it's just more so helping each other out. Like he said, the Bunnyzine goal is to have corporations kind of help out the rescues. That's the main goal. But up until then, just helping each other out. I know I see on the group pages some criticism of some people that have made mistakes, and I get it. I completely understand if someone's made a mistake and has led to something bad, but also be there for them, knowing that they feel terrible that they made a mistake. And because there are in the House Rabbit group pages and other different pages, there are a lot of new bunny owners that make mistakes. I'm sure I did in the past as well, and also being there for each other when certain medical needs come up, and bunny sometimes can cost a lot of money, and being there for each other. I see that a very positive thing if something gets shared on youcare.org. Someone sets up a link on there that people right away share it and get the funds raised, and I think that's awesome. You guys should keep that going. But yeah, just be there for each other in the active community. If you do come across an issue, about like a bunny needing a home. I know there's some criticism towards a person like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you get rid of your bunny. Personal story, I actually adopted my Milo because someone had like a cat, a dog, a bird, and like a hamster. They adopted Milo, and then they found out their daughter was having like allergic reactions, and they somehow traced it to the bunny because they had all these animals before, and then the bunny, Milo comes into play and she gets allergic reactions, and they felt terrible, but they made like some website ad that I never heard of. I was just Googling at the time because I just didn't really know much, like Flemish Giants. I thought they looked pretty cool, and Milo's ad came up, and I had Milo for 3 years before he passed, and it was awesome. He was awesome, and I would have never came across it if it wasn't for that ad and for that situation. So, as it does seem like a terrible thing that the person has to do that, we should also be there to help them out, because there can always be, like I had with Milo, there can always be a brighter future for them if we just help them find a new, bunny-friendly forever home. Again, I would like to thank you guys for listening to episode 3. We're almost going into an hour and a half of a show, which is an awesome show. Again, visit Bunnyzine.com, navigate down to the current issue for our Special House Rabbit Society edition, and follow our social media pages: official Bunnyzine on Instagram, official BZine on Twitter, and then Bunnyzine on Facebook. As Dustin mentioned, I think there's a Google Plus page as well, and he will be working on updating that to be more active on that front. So again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll hopefully have this uploaded later in the week, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.